It's Andy here and welcome to another Raid Shadow Legends video. Today I'd like to talk to you about Lodric Falconheart, the epic champion from the ongoing fusion event. For anyone who watched my last video on Astralon, the legendary champion from the current fusion event, you may notice that I've taught myself a few new tricks with the video editing and a thumbnail, which hopefully you enjoy, and hopefully that's going to make the video a whole lot better for you guys and get the message across on what I'm trying to say about these champions a lot better. So, into the video. I've been fortunate enough to pull Lodric Falconheart. You can see here that I've got him in some fairly standard gear. Obviously some 3-star shield kit and the best life kit that I can put on him. The thumbnail refers to him as Lodric Falcon Wall. Is he an impenetrable wall without books in him? No. Simple answer is he needs the books. He really does. And looking at this guy from an early to early mid-game perspective, even then he's of very little use, I think, unless you get that A3 down to at least a 3, if not a 2-turn cooldown. Unless you're going to go out of your way and put reflex sets on him and get a Painkeeper in there to keep decreasing that cooldown, in which case you're probably better off pulling shards until you get the Metal Shaper rare that does the same job. So we'll have to talk about him from a future perspective once we get the books into him, which, as you can see there, I'm trying to do. He becomes places a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns equal to 20% of this champion's max HP. Obviously that 20% can be increased by a further 20% on top of that. It's not a 40% shield, it's 20% on top of 20%, and it can go down to a 2-turn cooldown, so that's constant uptime. Clearly, once you've got it booked, that's an insane ability. It's of some use before you book it out, and it's only a 4-turn cooldown, but that is only some use. It's limited at best. So let's look at the rest of the kit. I mean, he's got this aura here, which is obviously Doom Tower specific. 25% increase of HP. If you've got another hero like I have Skytouch Shaman here, it does the same job. It does it on all battles, so the aura is not the best, and it's not something that I'll really pay much attention to. Looking at the rest of his kit then. A2, Holdout. Removes all debuffs from one ally, then places a 50% ally protection buff on that ally for 2 turns. So there's a lot of debate over whether the fact that he only does ally protection on one hero as opposed to all of the allied heroes, as someone like Miscreated Monster would do, is a good or a bad thing. Obviously, when you put that ally protect on all of your allies, let's say four champions in a dungeon, you are opening that hero, that champion, Lodric in this case, up to an awful lot of damage, because he's getting a share, 50%, of all 4 of those champions' damage on an AoE ability, let's say in the clan boss, and he's taking his own hit. So if he's not built correctly, he's going to fall over. With this being a single target ally protect, it gives you the ability to focus on the champion that needs it most in that moment, as well as the cleanse, of course, that will help to get it out of any stun locks that the opposing team, be it waves on a dungeon or be it in an arena format, it will help it get out of that and make sure it doesn't die on the next turn, as long as obviously it's got enough health in the first place. So I think that's a great ability. It only takes 1 book to get it down to a 3-turn cooldown, which is always nice, and it's a solid A2. A1, Strike of Dismay, attacks 1 enemy, has a 40% chance of placing a 50% decreased attack debuff for 2 turns. Now, odds are, by the time you get your A3 booked up properly, this will be at least a 50, if not a 60% chance of placing decreased attack, which is solid. It's not as good as some other decreased attack champions, like I think I've got Padma here. She has an 85% chance on her A1 unbooked. Clearly that's better if all I want is the decreased attack. But we're looking at this A3 and the decreased attack on the A1 is just a bonus. So it's a nice thing to have, absolutely. What I'd like to do from here is just show you Lodric in action as he is now, obviously unbooked and with average low level gear. Obviously this is going to be in the level of dungeons that I'm up to on this account. So Dragon, I think anyone who is in this early to early mid game is going to be playing Dragon. If you're not, you're probably spending a lot more energy than you need to get up to that 6-star gear. On my account, I know I did exactly that and made those mistakes. But you can see here on this newer account, I'm not quite at the 30-day reward yet, so I don't have High Katoon. I have just about managed to clear stage 13 of the Dragon. I won't do that one now though, because it's not very often that I manage to clear that on auto. So I'll go back down to stage 12 and we're going to run this team here. We've got Skytouch Shaman in the lead for the HP increase, which obviously supports Mountain King, whose damage scales off of HP, and Lodric, whose shield scales off of HP. Kale is in there because he is my only 6-star champion. I think for any new player who's going to be free to play or very low spend, and as you can see, I'm probably a little more than low spend on this one. It was meant to be a free to play, but I messed it up. I tried to buy something on my main account and didn't realise I was logged in here. So, never mind. As I say, Kale, 6-star champion. He's just such a solid champion for anyone who's starting the game that I highly recommend him as your first 6-star champion when you invest those resources, because he's effective in so many areas of the game, not least the clan boss, where you can get some of the best rewards in the game. But remind myself, it's a Lodric video, so let's see him in action. So you can see the shield there that Lodric's placing on the whole team from that shield set to begin with. Skytouch gets off the Revive on Death ability, so we're just supporting him there. Obviously with my gear and heroes being somewhat average, you've got to be careful to make sure that your team has enough adaptability and flexibility to be able to overcome those deficiencies. So we've had the revive as well there from Fang Cleric to make sure that we keep a full team going into the Dragon. Hopefully Skytouch won't go down here, and she doesn't. So Skytouch here is in a regeneration set because she damages herself by 10% every turn to do that constant AoE heal. And obviously regen heals for 15%. So it just cancels that out for me. You saw there the A2 from Lodric, just putting it on Skytouch, cleansing her of all those debuffs, and putting that ally protect on so she can build up a little bit of health from near death in that last round. This is going to be a pretty solid kill in the end, looking like, barring any dramatic comeback from the dragon now. And there it is. So, solid team. Obviously, no team needs the specific champions that it's made up of. All that matters are the elements. So the elements for my team there are a healer in Sky Touched, a reviver in Fang Cleric. I've gone for a defensive champion, being Lodric with the shields, albeit because he's not booked out, he doesn't do the best shields all the time. And then I've got my damage dealers in Mountain King and Kale. And that's all you need. It doesn't matter who your champions are, how early on in the game you are. Make sure you cover those areas, and not necessarily those areas specifically, but a good balance like that. And you should be able to progress most of the content that you're working on. Anyway, I will leave it there, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, then please do leave them in a comment below. Otherwise, I hope you like and subscribe.